Welcome to the Irvine Report for November 10th, 2020. Page 1. In the last year or so, the Liberty Movement has lost the Drudge Report and Fox News, and now is being banned by big tech. Tyranny usually begins with information sources being cut off. To counteract this, here at JI1776.com, we have made some changes to our website. If you click on Banned Patriot Websites, a list of important Patriot voices appears. Simply click on the name of your choosing and you will be taken to their website where they can't be banned. If you know of some websites that should be added, scroll down the page and provide us with the information. If you click on Enter Chat Room, an old-fashioned chat room appears. This may come in handy someday as government and big tech increase their methods of cutting off our ability to communicate. Page 2. With the current election situation, what is the state of our union? Here is Stuart Rhodes from Oath Keepers with his perspective.
Spiraling towards open conflict. I think there's a narrow window of a possibility that we can hold in the courts or potentially in the legislatures or in Congress. This is the fight. Oddly enough, this is exactly the program the Democrats set in place. But of course, they're portraying it as, projection. They're portraying it as this is all Trump's doing. They set up a corrupt, farcical election. It's open fraud. And they're daring us to do something about it. They're staring us in the face, saying, you're not going to do anything about it. We're going to steal right in front of you. But they know Trump's a fighter. That's why Van Jones did his TED Talk a while back this month, where he talked about, here's the progression. And they're projecting and saying, Trump's going to do this. Trump's going to refuse to concede. So as soon as Trump refuses to concede and Biden claims victory and the media says it's Biden's, they're going to start rioting. And they're going to call what we are doing a coup when it's actually them that are perpetuating a coup. It's a communist coup against our country. It's like being in Venezuela or Cuba or some other banana republic where you have the dictator is rubber stamped in an election that always goes his way. That's where we are now. And so it's time for us to stand up. But we do have some good lawyers who are fighting. I was on a conference call today with some of them. There's a whistleblower lawyer, Kelly Sorrell out of Texas, up right now in Detroit, fighting and conducting her own independent investigation. And we've got 2 Oath Keeper retired police officers protecting her. So we are going to help all we can to protect those who are standing up. I think it's critical that Stop the Steal grows legs. Everyone around the country needs to protest in every state capital, but especially in the states that are still in play where they're committing the fraud, like Pennsylvania and Michigan, for example, two prime examples. But then we need to build up to, it's basically our own version, a flip side version of what they're doing. Now we need to be in the streets and we need to culminate in Washington, D.C. to stand up against their color revolution, their manufactured so-called People's Revolution, which is simply a communist overthrow of the United States government.
Page 3. As Stuart said, patriots need to hit the streets and do peaceful protests. Here are highlights from the first Stop the Steal protest in Lansing, Michigan, last Saturday.
So how can we keep the Secretary of State tied up in court? Every citizen has a constitutional right, Article 2, Section 4H, to file a statewide elections audit against the Secretary of State for a statewide elections audit. So if you email me at mypurevote, mypurevote@gmail.com, I can walk you through the steps of filing a lawsuit against the Secretary of State. She has to answer to your lawsuit. You get your oral argument time in court in front of the judge. It will keep her tied up for months. So mypurevote, mypurevote@gmail.com.
We the people request a 2020 election audit now.
Got anything to say to Facebook Live?
Go, President Trump. We love you.
All right, you got anything to say to Facebook?
There you go. God bless America, freedom and liberty. It's not over. Legal vote. Legal vote. Legal vote. Until it's over. There you go. Recount, revote, whatever we have to do. Trump did not lose.
Nope.
For sure.
Trump did not lose.
Facebook Live.
What's that?
This is Facebook Live. You got anything to say?
Oh, I'm glad I'm here.
That's it.
Yeah.
President.
Yeah.
Trump.
Trump.
Trump. Trump. Trump. Not
Seats.
Yeah. Not over yet. Trump will prevail.
All right. Got anything to say to the Facebook
I think
people?
that guy's telling me to stop.
Got anything to say to the Facebook people?
Do I have anything to say to the Facebook people? Stand for Trump. Stand for your freedom. Stand for the Constitution. Stand for our rights. Stand for the children, even the unborn ones, and stop all of this communistic agenda.
Anything to
Election
say?
integrity is what this is all about. Election integrity. They're stealing the votes.
We'll keep on fighting till the end. We are the champions. We are the champions. We are the champions of the
Page 4. It is becoming obvious the election was stolen. Kirk Wiebe, former NSA senior analyst, explains the software used to help steal the vote.
The hammer and the application that works with it, called Scorecard, is designed to change votes on the fly as they are reported by tallying locations in all precincts and counties, whatever applies to your state, as totals are reported via the internet. The data is grabbed in real time, changed, and sent on its way. And this happens in microseconds. I'm not going to go into the technical details of how that happens. Just realize that the data is changed so quickly in the favor of whatever candidate it's told to favor that no one notices a delay and just accepts the total. And this has been going on in numerous states, to include battleground states, during this whole election. And it is still going on as votes are being counted and reported up echelon. Now, this evening, lawyer Sidney Powell, the personal attorney of General Michael Flynn, and someone who is known to the President of the United States, appeared on Lou Dobbs this evening and reported this fact. And she added the fact that data has been obtained from the whistleblower who built the capability, Mr. Dennis Montgomery, who is a national hero in this matter, having made this data available. There is forensic evidence showing what data was changed, where it came from, and where it was going to. And a record is kept. That means there is direct, solid evidence of voter fraud perpetrated by the people that are operating this hammer scorecard combination to change the votes of the citizens of this country. And in my way of thinking, if that is true, Mr. Trump will have no problem in court overthrowing the kind of results we are seeing reported.
Page 5. Dr. Steve Pieczenik explains that the election was actually a sting operation.
Let me just say again what I said in 2016. There are honorable members of our intelligence, military, and civilian community in the government who understood exactly how corrupt Biden and the Democratic machinery is, was, and will be. This is really a sting operation, contrary to what everybody else said. Trump knew this was happening. Eric knew this was happening and warned the public. I knew this was happening. However, I could not say anything about it. What happened was we watermarked every ballot with what's called the QFS blockchain encryption code. In other words, we know pretty well where every ballot is, where it went, and who has it. So this is not a stolen election. On the contrary, we reversed the entire game of war along the lines of Sun Tzu, the art of war. And Trump was brilliant and still is brilliant at it. The reason he hasn't been seen, and Alex correctly said, I haven't seen him in several days. Well, in the art of the war, you pull back, allow your enemy to make all the mistakes that they are making, manipulate the situation, expose them, and then come in for the final killing. And that's what's happening now. None of this was unexpected. All of this was expected. All of this is part of the sting operation we're running. And let me tell you that 48 hours ago, not only did we put markers on those ballots, but I can say now, with the permission of people in the intelligence community and elsewhere, that we have sent out thousands and thousands of National Guards to 12 different states, Washington, Delaware, Texas, Arizona, Alabama, and everywhere. So now you have to consider and rethink what this is really about. The genius of Trump is that he is able to pull back at any point and manipulate the opponent without the opponent ever realizing. He has said repeatedly, hashtag steal the vote. That's exactly what he has said for months. Then he made a very clear implication. He said, I will use common sense or my intelligence, i.e. both literal and figurative intelligence. And those of us in the intelligence community, be it who they are, again, what I said in 2016, when we exposed Hillary Clinton, we now exposed, and it was Trump who initiated this, Biden family. Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, Jill Biden, Jim Biden, Frank, the whole family was played right into a game where they were convicted, and you're seeing what's happening now. What was not announced was that we watermarked all the ballots with what I said at QFS blockchain, which is a very hard encryption code to break. And the second thing is we sent probably 20,000 or more National Guards 48 hours ago. None of it was reported, and I thank the press for not reporting it and others. So what in fact is happening is you're seeing a sophisticated sting operation that was initiated by Trump. I'm just a lowly peasant in this game, and honestly, I was informed that I could say something about it today, only last night.
Page 6, Dr. Charlie Ward explains how the watermark works to foil the corruption.
Well, we'll start with a brief prayer just to say thank you to God for looking after us all and protecting us all and for guiding us all and for clarifying what's happening in the world right now and for helping all of us stand up against and making us stand up against evil. We thank you for the strength that you've given us to continue this journey, and we ask you to look after every one of us and protect us from the evil forces that are out there trying to attack us. We know that good will win, but protect us on this journey as we ask you in Jesus' name. Amen. Well, guys, we're in a very, very special time right now. A lot of people woke up this morning wondering what the hell is going on. And we get an insight into what hell is like when we look at what's happening right now. We're in a battle. We need to forget about Donald Trump and Biden right now, because this battle is not between man, it's between good and evil. And Donald Trump is at the front of it. For God's hand is on Donald Trump. But we need to forget the identity. If we're trying to attract people from the other side, most of them actually hate him. We have to understand that they are bitter and twisted against him. And the only way through to these people is to make them understand that this is not about Donald Trump. This is about good and evil. Just so you know, with regard to the election, we're all pretty aware that the Democrats were doing everything they could to rig the election. Now, about 6 weeks ago, I said that I thought that this election would be held using the old system, the old voting system, to expose them. I had a sneaky feeling that they were going to do this, knowing that they had the quantum voting system in the background. There was a certain comment that kept coming up on Donald Trump's tweets about watching the water. And I'll be honest with you, when he talked about watching the water, I thought he meant about the dams in China. That was my thought process. I've learned this morning, and late last night, the water that we should have been watching was the watermark. Every official ballot paper in America has a watermark in it. The Democrats were completely unaware of this. And this watermark was verified by Amy Coney Barrett when she took office before the vote. She verified that the documentation, the watermark in the paper, was correct before all the official ballot papers went out. So if a vote came in on an unofficial ballot paper, which they looked on the outside to be exactly the same, but they didn't have the watermark. And the quantum system was able to pick up on that. So Donald Trump knows exactly how much he won by. And I'm led to believe it's around 80% across the board. But this will be now in the Supreme Court for them to judge. Now, the evidence is absolutely damning. And the fact that Amy Coney Barrett actually verified the paper for the official ballots, and they didn't know anything about it. She was obviously the only person that knew this, and she was under an NDA about this. So that every fake ballot can now very easily be spotted. And so the great news is that Donald Trump won the election convincingly by about 80%. A complete and utter landslide. The mainstream media and everybody out there that's pumping out stuff are not aware that the team behind the scenes have all of the information and all of the ammunition to go before the Supreme Court. Now, on top of that, on top of the fact that the ballot paper had a watermark in that nobody knew about, 5 states had more votes than there was people in the state registered to vote. Now, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to work that one out, that something was wrong. And somebody's picked up on there, which I loved, Donald Trump playing 5D chess. He's actually a master at chess and can play 5 games at the same time, for your information. He's a genius at chess. And we're just seeing, for those who woke up this morning thinking, shit, what's happening? I went to bed and he was leading. I've woken up and he's losing. You don't need to worry. You don't need to worry one little bit. This is the most exciting day in history because they've been caught red-handed. And Amy Coney Barrett knew all about it from the start. So she was completely briefed on what was going to happen. And this is why the official ballot paper was watermarked. and it couldn't be visually seen, otherwise the Democrats would have known. So it's fairly easy to spot the scam that they were up to, and that's one of a number of different scams that they were trying to do. They were trying to destroy Trump votes. They were trying to use the wrong, they were using certain types of pencils that were not allowed. They tried every trick in the book, but this is all part of the plan. I've said from day one, trust the plan. The plan has been extremely well thought out. They will not make any mistakes. This is cast iron. The people that I am connected to are sat there right now rubbing their tummies with laughter at how easy it was to set the trap and watch them jump in with both feet.
Page 7. What do we do now? This is where the patriots separate themselves from the pack. If we allow this stolen election to stand, it will be the end of any chance for honest elections in the future. Here is Stuart Rhodes with advice for us all.
I think it's critical that Stop the Steal grows legs. Everyone around the country needs to protest in every state capital, but especially in the states that are still in play, where they're committing the fraud, like Pennsylvania and Michigan, for example, two prime examples. But then we need to build up to, it's basically our own version, a flip side version of what they're doing. Now we need to be in the streets, and we need to culminate in Washington, D.C. to stand up against their color revolution, their manufactured so-called people's revolution, which is simply a communist overthrow of the United States government.